Hi everyone, welcome to our first Ask Us session where we take your questions and we answer your questions that you have about hydraulic systems. Now, we had some really good questions about hydraulics and valves and all those sorts of things, but the best ones that we came up with, and we had about 3 people ask about hoses. So what's a good rule of thumb around hose sizing and lengths and diameters? So hoses are the lifeblood of our systems. It's fairly important that we get them right. If we don't get them right, we cause problems with heating, pressure loss, pressure drop, and things may not work. We may get time delays. So let's have a quick look at it and see what we can do about it. Okay, so the first rule about hoses is the diameter is really critical to our hose sizing. Now, hose sizing is normally done on a nomograph. So this nomograph comes from the alpha gamma technical information, as we can see down the bottom there. Now, most hose suppliers have some sort of nomograph in their technical information. Now, basically what happens here, we have our flow down one side here, and we range from very, very low up to 400 litres a minute. And over the other side here, we have our velocity. Now, everyone has a different take on it, but generally, pressure lines, we're looking at around about 15 feet per second, or around about the 4.5 to 5 metres per second for a pressure line. That can go up and down depending on our system, such as a closed loop, or if we have really, really short runs. But let's just work around 15 at the moment. Now, if I wanted to select a pressure hose for 100 litres a minute at 15 metres per second, I draw a line through the middle here, and it should get me somewhere around the 20 mil or 3/4. So that's a quick way on how we can size it. Now, there is a formula that goes behind it, but that's the general way it works. We have suction lines up the top here. Obviously, we want suction lines to have low velocity, and return lines somewhere in the middle here. So that's a nomograph. That's how we select our hose sizes or our hose diameters. Now, it's really, really critical because if we double the diameter, we can get potentially 4 times the flow. If we triple the diameter, we can get 9 times the flow, and 4 times 16, and so on. Now, that's because of this lovely formula here around area, and it's the R² that makes the big difference. So that means when we halve the size, in theory, we get double the pressure loss. So that's a pretty significant event, particularly when we're talking about sizing around 3/4 down to 1/2 inch. That's a big difference. And 3/8 down to 1/4 inch is a very, very significant difference. Now, when we get to length, we pretty much have to use pressure loss charts. Now, up to around about 30 metres, 25 to 30 metres, the nomograph will do the job adequately for us. We won't have any problems and our systems will work fine. Once we get past the 25 to 30 metres, we have to go to our charts. Now, for us, what we use and what we prefer to use is our lovely book here, the Lightning Reference Book. So the Lightning Reference Book is our handbook. It's kind of like the machinery's guide for fluid power systems. And in there, we have charts. The charts give us pressure drop in PSI per feet, and we can then calculate what our pressure drop's going to be. So again, that's for hosing above around about that 25 to 30 metre mark. Now, it can make a big difference. Now, how to choose whether this is right and how to apply this to your system. If we go back to our board over here, we generally talk about 5% being the maximum that we want to lose in pressure drop. Now, the reason that is that 5% gets turned into heat. Now, heat in our hydraulic systems is always our enemy. We're always fighting it. But not only that, heat is wasted energy. So even more importantly, we're wasting energy. Now, if we think about a 50 kilowatt system or a 100 kilowatt system, 5% is a pretty significant number to be adding to the losses that we've already got in our system. Now, our systems are only around 85% efficient, so we add another 5% and all of a sudden we're losing way too much. So let's recap quickly. Diameter is really, really important. As we double the diameter, we can get 4 times the flow. But most importantly, if we come over to our nomograph, that's how we choose our hose sizing. For lengths, now as we increase the length of our hoses, If we're only up to around that 25 to 30 metres, then we should be okay using the nomographs. Past that, we need to do a little bit more analysis, spend a bit more time actually checking it out and calculating our pressure drop, and we want to keep it within around that 5%. So that's our first Ask Us. I hope it was useful. Give us some feedback, send us a message and let us know if you found this useful, and we'll get some more questions out next week.